It takes courage to heal. And whether you're going through a dire situation or confronted with one of life's many transitions, our experts have some tools, they have wisdom, and they have proven steps to step into your courage and heal. So let's go say hi to them. Hi, Candace.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Candace Platter. I'm an addictions therapist in private practice. My website is lovewithboundaries, all one word, .com. And I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Well, welcome, Candace, and hi, Lee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Tran. I am a speaker, a transformation coach, and also a published author of my memoir, I Did Not Miss the Boat. You can find me at www.leetran.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Lee. And hi, Ro.
Hi, I'm Ro Couture-DeSaro. I'm a business transformational leader and coach from New Jersey. And you can find me at gutsygalsgetmore.com.
Great to have you. And hi, Debbie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Debbie Helena. I am a holistic integrator for wellness and a mindfulness coach. And you can find me at debbiehelena.com. And I am coming to you from Florida.
Wonderful. Great to have all of you here. I know you have such immense wisdom for us today. So let's jump right into it on stepping into that courage to heal, because it does take courage. So Candace, I thought I'd ask you first, what wisdom do you have to inspire our viewers to do that, step into their courage and heal?
Yeah, there are so many families all over the world that are struggling with addiction in some way. And sometimes they're making the mistake of enabling their addict, which means that they're doing for them what the addict could and should be doing for themselves. And when addicts are enabled, they basically stay stuck in their addiction. They have no incentive really to make any change, to do anything differently. So enabling an addict, even though it may feel loving to you, enabling an addict is never a loving act. So family members need to love their addicts enough to do the right things for them, even if it may be uncomfortable for you. Because we need to remember that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we need to make some changes to see some different results.
And is there a first step a family can do to stop enabling?
Yes, they can look at things like not giving an addict money when they know where that money is going to go to. They can look at what it is that they're actually doing and ask themselves, am I really helping, or am I just continuing this situation? And if they don't know, one of the best things you can do is reach out for some help from somebody who can help you.
Yeah, just like the addict needs help, the family needs help too. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for the good work you're doing and helping people heal. And I know this is far reaching. So if it's talking to you, Candace is here for you. Lee, yes. And Lee, I wanted to ask you, you have immense knowledge and wisdom in the area of, stepping into your courage and bringing forth healing. What advice do you have for our viewers today?
Thank you, Laura. I think for me, I want to build on top of what Candace said about change. I come from a line of refugee coming to this country 40 some years ago and went through a lot of tremendous changes, running away from communists, hopping on the boat, not knowing where we're going. So that takes courage, and change is growth. And I think, throughout my life, I didn't even know, but I'm keep plowing for change so I can grow. And that is something that I think that everybody can actually find opportunity in their adversity, because that's where the changes are hidden, and that's where all the potentials are hidden.
So if I hear you right, it's about looking for the opportunities no matter what's going on, no matter how crazy it seems.
It's like, well, take the courage to get out of your comfort zone and do new things so you can change, so you can grow.
And you didn't have a choice, really. You were kind of thrust into that.
I know I didn't have a choice back then, but when I settle in America, I do have a choice to move forward or stuck in the past and be dramatic and withdraw and not growing. So there is the choice that I was taking later on in life.
Very courageous, very inspiring. Thank you, Lee. So, Ro, tell us about the wisdom and advice you have for someone who wants to step into their courage and heal.
So one of the blind spots that I saw a lot of women have when you look at women who have done courageous things and have been leaders and showing up and high achievers is that they actually believe that they were just lucky. And one of the things that I want to bring out that it's not luck to get courage. Courage comes from within. It's not something from the outside world. It's from within us. So getting to know who you are, the courage to know who you are, the courage to do the inner work is what we need to find courage. And it's all about really knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and knowing what's important to you, because that's where you'll find your value. So one quick tip is take out a sheet of paper, number it 1 through 30, and write out 30 outcomes, 30 results that others get from working with you. The first 10 are easy. The next 10 get a little difficult. The last 10 is your bread and butter, your meat and potatoes, that stuff that you don't really realize that you really find some deep value that you're bringing to the table, that you bring into this world and changing the world. So it's a great way to find your courage.
Wonderful. Step into the value you are to others and you'll find your courage. Beautiful piece of wisdom. Thank you. And I think that brings me to Debbie. You know, you talk about helping people heal anxiety because there's a lot of anxiety around courage because courage has to do with fear. So what advice do you have for our viewers?
Yeah, so much. Thank you, everyone. This amazing advice. And one of the things that I like to focus on when I work with my clients is the 3 most powerful ways of being are to be open, to be aware, and to be present. And that awareness is so important because we get to be aware of our thoughts in particular. And sometimes those thoughts can just spin out of control. And what often happens is when you become aware of your thoughts and you have that moment of awareness, where are you going? Are you thinking about worrying about the future? Or is that voice in your mind going to the past, regretting something, reliving something? You know, where does it begin? Because that's really where those feelings of anxiety begin. Everything starts with a thought. So awareness is such a powerful tool. So when you do catch yourself in those moments and you become aware of, okay, this is where I'm going, having that moment of pause, you can breathe. Couple of the best tools that I can share with you right now. In any moment, you can use your breath. Our mind will often mirror our breath. Our breath will mirror our mind. So if your thoughts are racing, you will find often that your breath is very short and quick. So one way we can do to stop that is to breathe in through your nose. For example, right now, just breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. And breathe out through your mouth as though you're blowing out a straw for a count of 6. You can feel your shoulders dropping. Just by doing that, you've brought yourself back to the moment. And another one of my absolute favorite tools, and just the best thing about these tools, not only can they support you in a moment of anxiety or uncertainty or fear, but if you are with someone else that is experiencing that, you get to share this with them. It's so simple. And you get to be that ripple to help someone else. So the other tool that I'll share is we cannot be in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same time. Our mind cannot hold that. Gratitude is a much higher vibration, a much higher frequency. So what I love to do is tell you, pull your hand to your heart. Hand on your heart. Your heart will automatically, there's a gravitational pull. It will bring it forth. That's your home. That's your center. Hand on your heart. What are 3 things you're grateful for in this moment?
Beautiful wisdom. And I think all of us who just did that feel a lot calmer, more centered to step into our courage and heal. So thank you for that and all the wisdom here. So I want to get to know a little bit more about each of you. Who do you work with? What do you do? What's inspiring about that? So Candace, we know a little bit, but tell us about who you work with and how you help them.
Yes. Well, first, I'd like to say that I love what Debbie just said, and I am grateful for so many things. I myself am an addict in recovery. I was prescribed many opioids like codeine and morphine and OxyContin for a long, long time. I was basically an opioid addict for about 15 years. And in this July, I'll be celebrating 35 years clean and sober. So I know addiction from a lot of different angles. I now work with families and other loved ones of people who are struggling with addiction, and I've been doing that for about 30 years. And what I know to be true is that in families where there is addiction, everybody in the family is affected, and everybody in the family needs to heal, the addict and everybody else. So when we learn how to stop enabling an addict, that's when we can stop the addiction. That's when the addict has a fighting chance of recovery, because an enabled addict doesn't recover. Why should they?
Can you share a story about how you help someone recover?
Yeah, I'd love to. The parents of a 25-year-old came to me. He was a heroin addict, and they were at the end of their rope, which is often what happens when families come to me. They just don't know what to do anymore. This family was enabling him by giving him money, even though they knew where the money was going. They were allowing him to live in the family home without contributing anything. He didn't have to pay rent. He didn't have to buy food. He didn't have to clean up after himself. He was allowed to use and drink in their home. And so they actually had heroin in their house because he was bringing that in, as well as some kind of sketchy people who, came in the house with him. He was allowed to sleep all day and use all night and make a lot of noise and keep the family members awake in the night. He was abusive physically, emotionally, verbally with the other family members. He'd sometimes punch holes in the walls when he was angry, or he'd shove somebody out of the way, and there weren't any boundaries set around that. So he was basically allowed to get away with that. But as the family started working with me, they began to understand the huge difference between enabling an addict and actually helping an addict. And they began to set and maintain, that's really important, they began to set and maintain healthy, appropriate boundaries with him. At one point, they asked him to leave the family home and to live elsewhere. And that was really hard for them to do. And it was really hard for the addict too, for their son. And that was the incentive for him to get into recovery. That was the incentive for him. They did something different. He started doing something different. He went to detox. He went from detox to rehab. And he's been working his program of recovery ever since. He's now over 3 years, clean and sober. And he's training to be an addictions counselor. How could it get better than that?
That's fabulous.
So this is what we see with the families we work with at Love with Boundaries. This is what happens.
Fabulous. You're doing very important work. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Lee, tell us about the people you work with and how you help them, what you do for them. What's your passion?
Well, I love to work with women who came from a line of trauma, that they have overcome so many things, built a successful life, and then still not value themselves. They're still going through life on a groundhog day, day to day, and wishful that they could get out of that mode, but they were so fearful of taking that uncomfortable step to spearhead and to create something new for them. And a lot of time, people coming from a painful situation, they think that whatever they dealt with, it wasn't them. It wasn't the brilliance within them. Like Ro was saying, we all have our own brilliance. So I work with them so they can tap on their own brilliancy and find out that there's still a lot of potential in them, because they have gone through, but they're still not satisfied because they settle for somebody else in the family, not for themselves. They don't live authentically the way they wanted to or should be. So I work with a lot of those people.
And tell us how you came to this work.
Well, it's because I came from, like I said, from a place that where my voice had been suppressed in the culture that I come from. It's always, do what your parents say, what your teachers say, what everybody else say, your neighbor, you live for everyone else except yourself. And I came from a place that I finally realized that I am in America. I have a voice and I need to exercise that voice. And in my memoir, I was telling, how the journey that we came and how I come about to find my own, rediscover my own potential, that I can exercise that. So I become a speaker. I'm come from a fearful place of speaking, even with my own father. And now I am on stage and speaking to, lots of people. And I want to inspire people that they can do it if they just let themselves free of being afraid that being judged, being afraid that they're going to live for somebody else is not happy the way they want to do. So basically, I want them to be bold without being reckless. And I teach them how to take that calculated risk so they can achieve that.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for the courageous work you're doing and how you got there. And so, Ro, tell us about who you work with and what you do with them.
So I work with business and professional women leaders, women entrepreneurs and go-getters who want to make a change in the world. They want to live that fully complete life of having a great career or business and having the life to go with it as well. So I really support, these women who really, the ones that I work with are really the ones that they've done a lot, they've accomplished a lot, yet they still feel there's more. And they still know they're holding themselves back, and they still know that they're not fulfilled. They're not fulfilled. They're like, all right, check. I did the business. I made 6 figures, but how come I'm not enjoying it? How come I don't have the time to enjoy it? How come I don't feel good about it? And those are the women I love to work with, because a lot of times what I find is they did a lot of that through their masculine success system that we inherited, and they kind of suppressed a little bit of their feminine side. And they didn't really have that balance of when to be in masculine and when to be in feminine, and really have that balance within themselves. And that's where, there's that missing piece of being able to live a life full of grace and ease and happiness and fulfillment.
So tell us quickly, how did you come to this work?
So I started at a very young age, 40 years ago in the 80s. I broke several glass ceilings at a major Wall Street firm. And that opened a lot of doors for me. It gave me kind of like what Debbie was saying before, that awareness. And I had a lot of that awareness of seeing the changes of how men are and women are. And so I saw that. And then I kind of went into my own world. But then 30 years later, when I was even finding my purpose more, and I wasn't on, I was kind of like the women I just described. And I was like, well, why am I not happy? Why is this? I know there's more. And in discovering that, I learned to notice that I really want to help these women, other women like this. And I said that women they were still playing small. I really thought that women were, because I was kind of away from it. And I really thought women grew a lot further. And that's when I'm like, I need to, go out and support, these women. So I've been in the women empowerment space for a very long time now. Something that now a lot of women are joining me, which I love. So
Very powerful. Well, thank you for the work you're doing to help women break their inner glass ceiling so they can make they can dance on top of the ceiling.
yeah, absolutely. And, I love doing it where, helping women step into kind of like what Lee was saying, into their authenticity. I had a chef who was trying to go out there and be a chef for everyone, even though deep down inside, she only wanted to cook gluten-free. She only wanted to deal with people who were organic and, very holistic, but she was afraid to show up that way because maybe she wouldn't find enough clients. And when I got her to see what her value was and step into who she was and her power, she started to voice that and express that. And before you know it, within 3 months, she had a 6-figure consistent business of consistently doing 5 figures a month, and she's still doing this years later. So it's that owning who you are, and then once you own it, you become unshakable and express it to the world. Then everything starts to fall into place.
Indeed. Thank you. Debbie, tell us about who you work with, what you do with them, and a story.
Thank you. Thank you. So I work with teenagers and women over 40. And wow, so very similar to what Ro just said, I help both I'll call them the kids, but step into their power and find that 20 seconds of courage and confidence to take that next step, to ask that question, to speak from their heart, to ask for what they need, what they want. And one of the most powerful experiences that I had with that was last summer. I was teaching a group of 15 teenage girls. They were ages 14 to 18. Most of them were 14, and they were getting ready. It was right before school started. It's a 9-week course that I have. And most of them were going right into high school, their first time in high school. And when I was talking earlier about the awareness of those voices that we have, and I'll just say, if anyone, I don't know if any of you have ever read Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. It's a fabulous book, and he speaks beautifully in the book about the roommates in your head, or you might want to call them the gremlins, those voices of judgment that we all have. And they get us into the comparison mode, perfectionism, where we just stop. And so I was teaching the girls about how to identify that voice of judgment when it comes up, and had them write out what it said. And I didn't have them write out, you need to lose weight, because that's not what the voice says. The voice really says to us, what does it say? It says, you're fat, you're ugly. It says these horrible things if we're really honest with that. And I just invited the girls to share honestly and anonymously. So I had them write down what their voice of judgment said on the cards. And on the back, we flipped it and we brought in their voice of wisdom. What's another way to say that? But in that class, what I realized was that the voices of judgment of these girls who were 14, 16, 18 were the same voices of judgment that I have and that my adult clients have. And that broke my heart, and that broke open awareness for me of how important this work is, and to reach the kids at a younger age, because it's those thoughts that lead to the self-doubt, to the anxiety, to holding back and playing small and not being seen. And it's those 20 seconds of courage where you get to raise your hand, show up. That is so powerful. So it's bringing that forth and giving that courage, just like even what Lee said, the courage that it took to overcome that trauma and to come to a completely different land and another language. And exactly, what Ro and Candace do with the people and the powerful sacred work that they do as well. It's so important.
I agree. And your work is sacred and powerful as well. And the 4 of you have such immense passion for helping people that it's moving, and you're really helping people with the courage to heal, because it does take that, and that is the first place to go. So that's what we do here at Women Speakers Association. So I wanted to ask each of you a little bit more about why Women Speakers Association. What is the value you have gotten and received from it? Candace?
I joined WSA because I felt really ready to get my message about the dangers of enabling an addict out there to the families, the many, many families who need to hear that. There's a lot of help out there for addicts. There are detoxes and rehabs and, different kinds of treatment and 12-step programs and self-help groups. There's very little help for the families who struggle and suffer right along with their addicted loved ones. So that kind of support and help is what we do at Love with Boundaries. And I just really wanted to get that message out. Let families know that there is help out there for you. And I love the way the women in WSA support and nourish each other. I'm so happy I joined. It's a beautiful community of women who really want the best for each other. And I just love that. I feel it every time I'm in a meeting or in a group.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because we really do. We just accomplished something together, which was the best-selling book this year. We do this every year. We have a compilation. Really, it's a collaboration of stories, inspiration, and hope, called Voices of the 21st Century. And if you want to be a best-selling author and you want that whole dynamic that Candace said on a deeper level, being a part of this sub-community within Women's Speakers Association is quite unique, because it's a year-long journey, and we're starting it now for next year at voicesofthe21stcentury.com. So thanks for recognizing the deep support that is here, Candace. And Lee, tell us about your experience with WSA. What's the value?
Well, actually, speaking is my third career. My trade was a research chemist for a long time, for almost 2 decades. And then I have my own business, which I spoke all the time, but I wasn't speaking professionally. So when I wrote my book and when I be a coach, I think, it's a great platform for me to be out there. And I think, this group has really given me a lot of like-minded people who also want to bring their message to impact more people out there. And I can find collaboration, and I think, join forces that we can get a louder voice, a bigger message, so to help more women to get out of their comfort zone and start doing the great thing that they're supposed to do and deserve to have.
Bravo. Amen to that. Love it. Thank you. And Ro, what is the value of Women's Speakers Association for you?
I, like Lee, have determined that speaking is like my number one lead generation, so to speak, of how to get my message out there. And, one of the ways that I love to do it. And why not be in an organization that are all beautiful speakers and beautiful women, that we create this community for one another, so that we could just build the relationships and the resources together, and the collaboration and the co-creation and the partnership, and have all that, and not be a place where we're all just trying to sell one another. We're here to support one another, and that's what I'm all about. And that's what I've seen in this community here, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. That's right. We are here supporting each other. We're here for you. If you want to know more information, that's joinwsa.com. And you can do what all of our ladies here have done, become premier members. And Debbie, I wanted to wrap up with you and find out, what is the value of Women's Speakers Association to you?
So powerful. This association is extraordinary, as I think you can see just by this moment and this brief time with each one of us, that this is a complete community of collaboration, of support. It's not about what we do individually, it's as a collective, how each one of us can share a message and connect and work with each other to amplify that message into the world. It is so powerful. It's how we can, as a community, work to literally raise the collective consciousness of our planet, heal our planet as a whole. It's like they say, when the tide raises, it raises all the ships, not just one. And this community, we're all just rising together to support each other. And it's just been extraordinary.
Thank you for bringing that up, because it is International Women's Week. just 2 days ago was International Women's Day. And the visual of the book with the women's hands holding the world is what we're about. So, that's what we do to come together here at Women Speakers Association. We're a virtual global organization, and we have locations too where we meet, but more, it's like meet somebody across the world, in the comfort of your own home is what we do, and get support and find resources and elevate each other's voice. Amplify it. I love that phrase. So thank you, women, for being here. Thank you for your passion and your courage to step in and heal yourselves and then do that for everyone else. So thank you. And we will be back again with another episode of our Women Speakers Association's WSA TV Women's Premiere Show. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura.